happy to introduce our speaker for the month, William Doc Grant.
Welcome.
Aloha kako. As soon as I figure out my high-tech goodie on this side, I'll try to put some actual names. Oh, here's one thing you might like. This is an oldie.
The share function working?
Should be somewhere, but everything's all
down at the bottom. There should be a green share.
Green share.
It says share.
Oh, there it is. Share screen. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, here we go. Actually, I managed to drop this one into the chat portion.
Oh.
That might be something you guys can see because you can apparently share pictures, which probably will work a little better.
Well, what you need to do is find the share button where it says share, and it'll open up your screen. It'll open up the screen. Oh, yeah. It'll be even better.
Okay.
Yeah,
open up.
We can see that, but open up. Go down below. There's a green button, and hit that. It says share. It'll open up full size on the screen.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and it's it doesn't seem to let me do that right now. Let's see. Window. Here we go. Window. Nope. Chrome tab. Nope. Hang on.
Nope. Yeah, you're in your Zoom, right?
Yeah.
And you look at the bottom, and there's.
Well, that's okay. I'll just post stuff in the chat feed because this way it'll work easier. Okay. So if you open up the chat, you'll see the picture I just put there.
Let's see.
That's our. That's the picture.
There you are.
Our picture of our usual setup.
Yeah.
That's a good old Hawaii Star manga project, which was something we put together about 25 years ago, and then we finally got it rolling in 2010, and it only lasted for about 5 issues before my family had some health problems. My father had a stroke, so I wound up turning that off for a few years while he was working his way through his recovery. Then he passed away in he had his really bad stroke in 2010. He passed away in late 2011, and after that things were a little more stable. Let's see here. Ta-da. I got another thing here. Let's go find that other thing. Where did it go? But basically, my career began back in 1977. I was doing basically doing what's that thing called? It's basically a youth business program. And I wound up starting my business in Junior Achievement. That's the name of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I basically started that as a Junior Achievement side project. I got 13 issues of my own book out between 77 and 82. And then later on, I started trying to publish other people's stuff.
Mm.
So that's not bad. Right now, I'm just trying to figure out where those other pictures. This is one of our more recent products. Let me get that open. There we go. This one, it just showed up as a tip. Link. Crap. Come on. Oh, it's loading. That's why. Okay. But anyway, this is one of our more recent products. It's called Code 3. Basically done by my wife, a good friend of mine named Baron Acosta, and it just went to, what the hell are you doing? Oh, never mind.
Anyway, we're recording, and nobody can see what you're posting unless you can share it. They can't
because it's in the AI Companion negative. No, never use anything AI. Block and delete.
Right. Well, I just downloaded your file and shared it so people can see your event.
Let's
the picture. Yeah.
See, now they can see the picture, which will make it possible for it to be seen in the recording.
Oh,
I did a little screen sharing there.
Basically,
well, I clicked on it and it filled my screen. Yeah, before.
Yeah. Right now I'm just trying to figure out where.
19 megabytes. That's kind of a big file.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know if it'll show up in the recording or not. We'll see.
Yeah, well, it likely should if it's a screen share.
Download. Let's see.
Yeah, you can see it if I share it.
Yep, it's okay. Yeah, apparently it doesn't let me share my screen, so I just basically drop out because there's nothing to put up there. It won't let me do it, so that's why I'm putting it in the chat portion.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way to share info.
Okay.
Well, that picture, the photograph of the booth, I mean, that showed up. I mean, I clicked on that and it filled my screen, but now I'm in a thing that's some kind of a file.
Isn't working. Yeah. Let me try again. I'll see if I can put something else in there. It's a tip picture. Let's see. Okay, come on. Where are you? Okay. Gotta be around here someplace. Thanks for bearing with me. Okay, because this one is a cover shot. It's not doing it. It's not loading. Okay. Oh well, never mind. So anyway, we got a one of our new comics, since it's not loading, is called Code 3. It's a comic book that's based on the doings of basically the Tribunal Paranormal Justice's Paranormal Response Unit Honolulu. They're basically police officers who are trained to deal with aliens, paranormals, supernaturals, extraterrestrials. So, like, you'll have issues like sometimes you'll have a bar fight in Waikiki and you're dealing with a necromancer, an alien, a couple of vacationing supervillains, and somebody from from one of the nether planes that dropped in to get a cuppa, and now they're all mixing it up.
That sounds fun.
It's like, handle Code 3. So it's basically drop everything and get there now. Some of the book basically deals with the adventures and misadventures of the officers and the some of the regulars in the story. They're the creation of my wife Lori, and she's been working on one version or another of this for a number of years. Right now, we're getting ready to get she's getting ready to get her latest version up and running, and hopefully we'll see something in perhaps a year or so. The other product we have is a product called The Hylanthean Light of the Herald. It's a sequel to an earlier series from the Hawaii Star Manga Project back in 2010. And this is the actual tale. It's done by a very creative young lady named CK Tanaka, and she's currently knocking out the next installment. And basically, my background, I'm a cartoonist, and I'll put up various odd things. Let's see if I can find one more that might go. Let's see, that was a tip, so where's the rest of it? Hang on a sec. I'll find a good one.
Do you have any screenshots or anything of just random art so we could...
Random art? You bet I do.
Or just
right
images of these characters you're talking about. Since we're,
some of the characters I talk about are apparently tips that aren't going to play. But I do have, let's see, some of my own stuff.
That picture, that photograph turned out. We can see that.
Good.
Well, let's see how this one does. There, that one seems to work for chat.
Does it?
These are the kids from
Here it
Honolulu,
is. Ah, there we go.
one of my products. And as a matter of fact, we're bringing starting a new series of them in 26. And these are the kids that make up some of the members of a comic club in a kind of an offshoot world. These kids are in basically, these are kids from basically 1986. They're all alien, the sons and daughters of aliens and support staff, the basically ambassadors and the support staff of different embassies. The Terrans have essentially basically turned Phobos into essentially a large complex of embassies and support structures. So these kids are all going to the same elementary school. And they're in somewhat of an offshoot of a Code 3 world. In other words, there's a PRU, there's a few other things, but that's where the similarities end. Basically, these young aliens are just running around, having adventures, learning about the world around them, and some of the really odd classmates they have. The girl on the left is from a the girl on the right is from a high gravity version of Titan. The girl in the middle is from a Epsilon Eridani, and the young boy on the left is a tribute to my friend Baron Acosta, who recently passed away from cancer. And he used to was fond of wearing head rags, and so Baron has a head rag with little limes on it because he was one of the people that was the early support for the Code 3 comic and Lime Media Hawaii. So basically the Hawaii comic community is broad and deep. One of the things I posted on the thread earlier was showing where Jerry Siegel, when he was working for Stars and Stripes Pacific as an editor, wound up in Honolulu in a Quonset hut where the NBC Arena over by Neil Blaisdell Center Arena is, and on Kapiolani Boulevard. They were about 6 blocks away from the printing presses at the old Honolulu Advertisers building on the corner of Kapiolani and South. And so that was an interesting bit of Hawaii lore. He also worked with Steve Leialoha's dad because his dad worked at the Advertiser printing plant. So, bit of history there. There's also the Hawaiian comic community has always been kind of fractured. There's been little cliques here and there, but now with the more broad-based conventions starting around mid to late 90s, they're starting to coalesce a little more. But you still have your basic groups of individuals that usually coalesce around certain stores or certain types of shows. Kawaii Kon was one of the first major comic conventions, or conventions with access for comic people. While it was basically a very low-key comic show, because its primary focus was on manga and anime, it's still where Comic-Con Honolulu got its start, and then Amazing Comic-Con Aloha came in and broadened the base even more with a more comic-centric show. So that was, that has been a good way of building more of an audience. The shops like, what's that? Gecko's Books and Comics was a longtime retailer in Kaimuki. I remember meeting the owner, Ted, on his opening day when he first opened his doors and he was stocking his shelves. And the fan base he built for that store was amazing. When he had to close during the pandemic, people kept coming in and he couldn't close until 7 in the morning the day after he was supposed to close. So you got that Hawaiian spirit. You got like these little friends that are there and you never see them until you need them. And then they can't come boiling in. But the Hawaiian comic community is usually friendly, tight-knit, and has a lot of different personalities in it, is the best way to put it. You got me, you got Sam Campos, Mark Gould, John Murakami, and a whole bunch of really, really talented folks. I mean, Donna got to see them in glorious color, and it's kind of fun. Now, as I used to work for the Legionnaire back in the 80s, and the Legionnaire was great. They had at their peak 4 stores. Jellies, another retailer, used to have 3 back in that same time period. And basically, over the years, there's been about 20 to 30 different locations for various comic shops. And all the successful ones had 2 things in common. They were on bus lines from schools, and they were within easy walking distance of something like a McDonald's, where you get the cheap after-school snacks, and then you have a reason to hang around and go and get the kind. So that worked out as a good business model. And Paul used that successfully at 4 locations, so there must be something to it. So, anybody got questions? I can't even tell if this is. Here we go. That puncture? There we go. I think the audio's on.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, you can? Okay, cool. Just want to make sure. But basically, in Hawaii, especially with conventions, one thing those guys from the mainland found out is that everybody just shows up. Mm-hmm. When Kawaii Kon first was going, they were looking at their. I was talking with the sales manager, and he was basically saying, we're not getting a lot of return on this. It's like, what? You're not, dude? No, you've got the very first Kawaii Kon. They planned based on the algorithm they had for their shows, 1,900 people. I said, you're getting way more than that. And they were like, okay. And they turned away 5,000.
Really?
Yep, they were at the Ala Moana Hotel. They maxed out the space. It was shoulder to shoulder. The fire marshal wouldn't let anybody else in.
Oh boy.
And they were like, "How did you know?" It's like, because I know the local business model. And the second year, they figured, okay, that was a fluke. It happened again. Then they went to the convention center and they've been there ever since. And when Stan Lee was supposed to show up for the opening Amazing Comic Con, why, they figured we'll get maybe 20,000 people. 32,000 showed up. So what you've got is a batch of people that need to understand how the local business model works. When Kikaida was on the air back in the 70s, the shows were massive affairs. There would be traffic jams on the freeway. There would be traffic jams all over the place as parents were taking their kids to see Kikaida, because you would have like the checkers and pogo events, and then you'd have Kikaida events, and it would be loaded. You never, initially they didn't expect very many people, and then they realized just how popular they were because it wasn't being accurately captured by a lot of the surveys intended to gauge what people were watching back at the time in that time. So suddenly you have like 60, basically you get, when you expect 5, you get 60. When you expect 600, you have lines around the block. So yeah, Hawaii does have a very deep comic culture. Hawaii does have a very deep pop culture. They have very deep Japanese pop culture roots, and it's all blended together. So your shops will carry a mix of all sorts of stuff. You'll have manga sharing space with, with anime characters, statues, American comic books, and um, like French and Canadian toys, that sort of thing. So it's the whole thing. The best way to describe the Hawaii comic culture and the kind of pop culture is really, it's cosmopolitan. It's a blend of pretty much everything. It's like going into a takeout restaurant, and you can get like hamburger steak, get Korean ribs, you can get katsu chicken, you can get like pinkabet and and bulgogi and all kinds of stuff. And that's just takeout restaurants. Like everything from small food trucks up to big restaurants will carry a broad range of different foods, because when you're standing in a line, you're going to see these kids dressed up as various characters from various shows. You'll probably see Superman. You'll see Superman. You'll see like Dr. Slump. You'll see Tintin and a whole bunch of other stuff. And that is the one thing that really defines everything. It's a mixed plate. They'll be reading Superman, and they'll pick up a copy of like Jujutsu Kaisen. And that is the thing that really makes Hawaii interesting and tough to deal with in terms of sales. Some of the shops will not take a chance on new product. So we have to basically take our products down there and consign them, let them have a few, let them start building an audience for it. Because some of the shops, like Other Realms, for example, have something on the order of maybe, what, $15 to $20 million in backstock.
Mm-hmm.
From all of the stuff that they had previously, all of their backstock, all of the old things that just sat there, the like collections they may have bought. These guys have a couple, at least $10 million in backstock. The what you call geckos had close to, my personal estimate was about 17 million, both in what was on the shelves and what was in the back, because they had the contents of not one but two other comic shops in a huge room behind everything. The boxes were stacked to the ceiling. So you have these places that have been open for like 30 years, and they will build up a library. And you can basically go in and like just ask them for something obscure, and they'll say, "Yeah, give me a couple days." They come back, and there you have a copy, because they dug around in the back. And that's the thing with Hawaii. Usually, you don't have a whole lot of choice. So you have like a handful of places that have been around for a while, like Other Realms. They're one of the last of the old time shops. And if you can't find it on the shelves anywhere, then they can find it for you because they have backstock. And that's the thing that really sets a lot of Hawaii comic shops apart, is the fact that they're willing to dig around in the back for you. They're very customer centric, and they're also very careful, especially now, with making expenditures for products, like especially new products or some of the older ones, to make sure they can get either a good price or that it's really going to benefit their backstock. When I was running Dragon Riders used books, comics, and games in Hilo, I had the same issues. I would get stuff shipped in from the mainland, take one off the top, and I'd lose money on the whole load. Because the shipping costs are dear, some of the collectability is dear. And that's the thing. I was a publisher. I had my own comic company and worked for two others. And I've been basically a cartoonist and a customer. So I've seen the way things move in the industry. Let me try and adjust that. How's that? That a little better? Yeah, you can tell I have a lot of comics, huh?
Oh, yeah. Stacked to the ceiling.
Oh, yeah. And, if nothing else, during those cold Hawaiian nights, it forms a nice wind barrier. But it's not cold now. It's actually humid and up in the 80s right now.
Mm-hmm. Actually, we can see your ceiling.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, tip it down a little bit so we see you.
Yeah, we want to see you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see your lovely face.
There we are. I think it's...
Yeah, just tip it down a little bit.
Yeah, put down a little bit. Oh, here we go. There we go.
There
that
we are.
should be better. Okay.
Excellent.
So basically, the logistics of Hawaii usually necessitate ordering a little extra, saving some of it back for later, and that's why you find these stores with all this back stock. And when people pass away, their collections usually wind up getting taken back to the store they use the most, and it's like, can we go ahead and just give this to you? In some cases, and the shops will take them. They don't want the stuff these guys cared about to be just tossed. They want them to be used, given to other people, or used, or and that's what they do.
Hmm.
I took most of my collection down during COVID, for example, and went to basically Kevin Sano over at Sano Evil Collectibles. He gave me a great rate for my stuff. He knew I was stuck. He knew I was trying to pay rent. And it didn't hurt that I had hundreds of keys in my collection. Because that stuff came from the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s.
Mm.
And so he just said, sure thing, here you go. And he saved my butt.
Wow.
So I will always plug that guy because he's one of the best comic people out there.
Wow.
But Hawaii is a mixed bag because on the one hand you got this modern metropolis, and then at the same time you have this old school values that can make or break your product or your company. Because it's like people wonder why there's so many people just lying down by the side of the road, and the cops don't seem to mess with them much. And that's because enshrined in the state constitution is something called the law of the splintered paddle. Back in the old days, King Kamehameha got tired and he fell down. He slept by the side of the road. Some other guy carrying a paddle came up and determined he was like a drunk sleeping by the side of the road, so he was going to punish him. So he started smacking him with the paddle so hard enough it started to break. And Kamehameha leaped up and he declared doing something like that to people kapu, or illegal. So that's why you have the law of the splintered paddle. And there's a lot of Hawaiian and other cultures things here that are important to remember when you're doing a shop, doing a convention, doing comics, and how you approach people with them, because you have to basically look at your audience. And you and Donna will be able to tell me that there's local variations in cultures that you have to take into account when you're selling at different locations, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's different going to the Deep South. It's different going to the Northeast. It's different going to the Northwest.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing here. And that...
It's a little different for me because my weird little culture finds me, and it's kind of the same wherever I go, whether it's Hawaii or it's in the South or whatever. It's these little niche weirdos all over the place. And then Hawaii, yeah. I had people showing up and just getting introduced to it, and so I don't change for the culture. The culture kind of comes to me.
Okay,
so it's a little different. I mean, it works in Hawaii too.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And you guys have good solid audiences, and that's the number one important thing. Getting an audience and building it here usually requires reaching out and really doing a lot of legwork, a lot of local small shows, so people see you all over the place. I mean, look at John Murakami. He's him, Roy Chang, Sam Campos. John is awesome. He's a wonderful cartoonist. He's got all of these different. He does all these different shows and everything, and he's still at it.
Well, he constantly shows up on my Facebook feed with a million projects on shows he's going to. So he's very active.
Yep. Now, I'm recovering from a heart attack and a stroke. Now I'm working 40 hours a week again. My art hand's still funky sometimes. But you just basically gotta get down to it and get it done, especially with comics, because these kind of, I mean, the kind of people I work with, they're dedicated. They do have their own lives, and sometimes they're very complicated. So some folks will like take a couple of years off and look after their ohana, which is fine. I mean, I fully expect people to do things like that when they have trouble with their families. So, I mean, I've made allowances for that for a number of creators, and the results have always been good. So, there's a lot of different human elements that the public doesn't take into account. I mean, if like if your husband was going to come over to Honolulu, he'd do it on a boat, you know, and that's perfectly fine. Or heck, I'd take a plane and come over there and bug you guys.
Mm-hmm. I do have a question. You just talked about the Hawaii comics culture. Now, is that specific to particular islands, or is it different, or is like everybody's in the culture on all the islands?
Generally, Honolulu is a little more cosmopolitan than the neighbor islands. The neighbor islands had generally don't have as many conventions. They're trying to, but the Hawaii Kon on the Big Island got a couple of has had a couple of issues with both the people running the show and the people running the show borrowing images without permission.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And that caused a big controversy.
Ooh, that could cause money too if somebody gets a hold of it.
Yeah. Sam was not happy when some of his art was appropriated without compensation by Hawaii Kon. And there were some other.
You mean the staff was doing
issues.
that? The staff was doing that for Hawaii?
The staff had done that, and there were other issues between Enjoy Comics and the staff of the Hawaii Kon. Apparently, there was some other kinds of wrongdoing, and a number of vendors objected to it. So that's something I have had various people tell me about. So I'm like, okay, this don't sound right.
That sounds rather amateurish.
But at the same time, you also have some people at that show that are working their butts off. And I really appreciate the fact these guys are working hard, trying to give a good show to the people that are paying a lot to show up there. Mm-hmm. And then you have this drama behind the scenes. Me personally, I won't go to Hawaii Kon for that particular reason. And Enjoy Comics recently closed on the Big Island because the owner has cancer and he's getting treatment right now.
Oh.
So right now the only comic shop left on the Big Island I'm aware of is Wonderberries out in Kona.
So your Comic Central is basically Oahu.
Oh yeah. Comic Central is basically Oahu. Right now on Oahu we got Choice Con. Well, we have Other Realms. That's a big one. Then there was Ideas. Ideas Books and Music recently closed. So now Kevin Sano's looking for a new place to set up shop. There's another place is Choice Comics out in Aiea, Westside Comics and Westside Games and Comics, which is also in Aiea, and Dragon's Lair, which is in Mililani Town. They're up in the middle of the island, next to the army base. The there are a couple of other dealers I think that don't have formal storefronts, and there may be one more Pono Comics, but I haven't figured out where that is yet. On Kauai, I don't know of any active comic shops. There used to be a place called Nickelbag Comics, but they closed a number of years ago, and I'm not sure if anyone else has opened up. Maui Comics has closed its storefront, but now they're working out of another one. There's no comic shop on Molokai that I know of, but then the population of that island's around 9,000 people. It's basically a big small town. Lanai, same thing. They're basically like about 6,000 to 8,000 people on that island. About maybe half of them used to be are with various hotels. And the Big Island, well, they had the Wonderberries in Kona. They had Hilo. They had used to have Hilo Comic Shop that turned in, and then they closed, and then Zizergy Comics, I think it was SYZYGY Comics came up, but I think they closed a number of years ago, even before the pandemic. And then Enjoy Comics just closed. So just like on the mainland, you got comic deserts. So these guys that want comics either order them online.
He's back.
Yeah, my computer
disappeared. You were gone. Yeah. We missed you.
I know. Oh my Lord! It was.
Even the internet is on island time.
Yep.
Okay, but yeah, basically, Hawaii comics and the Hawaii comic market are a real mixed bag. And to understand it and understand the readers here, the shops need to usually get consignment product, and that way you can. What's the best way of putting this? You can usually try to develop an audience, because the shops usually aren't going to take a chance on anything resembling new product unless it's by somebody who's really established and has an existing base with them. And even then, you're going to be lucky if you get more than 5 units. So we usually took like 10 units, take it down to their shop, and just stick it there and see how many of those 10 units move. And if lots of them move, great. One of the things I also do before we take our products to market, I go into my friendly neighborhood comic shop, wherever that is on the island, and I put a couple of sample copies in there, and then I ask some friends or some people in the shop to try to find my new book. I'll tell them what it's called, and I'll turn them loose. And if they can't find it in 90 seconds, I redo the logo until they do. The logo is your number one selling point, your number one sales tool, and your number one way people are going to find you. When you're running around a website, you don't have that happy synergy where somebody walks by a book and goes, I'll take that one. You don't have that moment of wonderful discovery. Well, I'm bored. Let's check this. Whoa, holy cow. The first 5 pages are great. Sold. And That's what you want. You want that synergy. You want the connection with the customer. And the only way to get that here is send demo books over, plunk them down, encourage the shop to ask people what they think of them when they have time or remember. And I go in, I say, okay, I dropped off 10 books last week, Wednesday. How many are left? Let's count. 3. You sold 7 of them. Great. So here's the next load. Let's see how many of these move. And if the second week comes, you have 10 to start with, and you move another 5, you got a hit on your hands in Hawaii.
Yeah.
But your logo is your single biggest metric sales tool, because they're only going to see usually the top 3 inches. You got to make it memorable. You got to make it something that they will want to pick up. And that's hard. And you want to make sure they make the 90-second test. If they can't find you against that background, you're in a sales desert. And that more than anything is what I was taught about marketing and about sales. Because comics have, while comics have a very specific look, they also have to have a very specific type of look. Logos like Superman, X-Men, Green Lantern, Avengers, Spawn have very distinctive shapes, colors, sizes, and angles that you can instantly identify from a bus stop 35 feet away. Batman, same thing. Big, bold bats, like 70s Batman logo. Suddenly, you have a lot of different options when you can encourage people to try your brand. And that's the biggest struggle here in Hawaii. Getting people that are normally go after things because they have a limited amount of money, even more so here because of a higher cost of living, to try something new. You have to make it enticing. And that is the real challenge. Because one of the things I have tried to do over many, many years is come up with enticing products, enticing logos, ways of getting noticed. And that's the biggest challenge down here. To get the attention of the shops, you got to give them starter product, and you got to be able to track your starter product. Okay, you signed for 10 of these. Look, you only got 7. We're putting another 7 in here to make it back to 10. Let's see what happens the second week. And it's like, great, we moved 13, 15 units of admittedly a #1 comic. So let's see what happens with 2, 3, and 4. And if you put out 5 and they disappear, then we put out 5, they're gone. We put out 6 more. They're gone. Great. It's a seller. Can I put you down for 15 units? Here you go. Okay, a lot of local comic shops also will have trouble because of shipping. When I ran my own shop in the Big Island, when I worked with 3 other comic shops here, shipping was their biggest expense next to physical plant and product. The shipping costs can be horrific.
Yeah.
And like I said, when I was there, this will date me, I got a box of Dragon 100 magazines. I took one off the top and lost money on the whole load. That's how narrow the margins are sometimes. And with things like tariffs and such, certain types of products, import things that have an audience here, a big one. But suddenly you're going to be getting hit because of all of the extras. And that's going to be another big challenge because you got to have the value for the money. Mm. And getting that value is a publisher's biggest challenge. You can't charge too much or people are going to think you're not worth it. But at the same time, you can't lose more than X amount of money on a product. Mm. And that's where Hawaii publishers are between a rock and a hard place. I, for example, made my product like a $5 MSRP. So we're looking at like basically 20-page comic books with a deluxe cover with 16 pages of product, 4 pages of ads, plus cover. And all of the ads in there are usually for other local product or local comic shops. I put those in as a courtesy to encourage business for these guys. If people are picking up my books at a mainland show, I want them to at least know that these places exist, these companies exist, and these other comics where my friends exist. Mm-hmm. And a lot of local comics don't include ads. They don't have any way to do any outreach for other customers, for other product, for other shops. You've got to basically leave room in there and make people aware that there are comic shops. Like some kids are completely unaware. Wait, there's a comic shop here in Honolulu? Yeah, there's 5 of them. Here you go. Yeah. One of the things I do as the Master of Nerds every Halloween, I'm handing out candy, old comics, old, free sarcasm and sketches, but I also hand out Ghost Banana's treasure map, and that is the location and contact information for every comic shop on the island, every Comic Con on the island. Huh. And I give it out to these kids, and they're like, "Wait, I didn't know these places were there." It's like, yeah, and they also the map also has something else. That's the secret sauce: the bus routes to get there. Every Halloween, you have a wonderful opportunity to promote your product, or even have what I do every once in a while, Driveway Con. I basically have 3 or 4 buddies come over. We set up a little mini con on there for Halloween, and we're handing out ash cans, candy, sketches, and like, oh, I'm going to be at the con this year. This is my table number. Come and see me. Come on. And
I should interject here that's how the Clallam Bay Comic Con got started. It was a few people selling comics in my front yard.
See,
and they cleared a mass of money. I don't know where all the comics fans came from.
Well, as you can see, there's a lot of good ideas we can do. Because you can promote your own comics and you can give away like readers and like really old stuff nobody wants. Great. Hand it out to the kids and ignite that spark. Nothing beats watching parents looking at their kids who have a reading circle under a street light. Across the street from where I'm handing this stuff out, they're reading comics, they're swapping them back and forth, they're munching some of their loot.
Wow.
And they have they have comics, they have a map on where to go. You plant those seeds. If your plan is for 1 year, you plant grass. If your plan, rice, sorry. If your plan is for 10 years, you plant trees. If your plan is for 100 years, you educate children. Because the number one thing, we plant the seeds, we get the little sprouts, little twigs, a little tree, a little glade, a grove, and then a forest. You grow your audience. I don't want just those kids. I want their great great grandkids. And I did it. When some of the kids I scared back in '82 when I started doing this last year, they brought up a burrito, a little baby wrapped and swaddled with little cat ears and little whiskers painted on it, all of 6 weeks old, getting her first comic and her first candy from the Master of Nerds. The fourth generation too. You build your audience, you work it just like a good long-term shop, and it pays off. And they will keep coming to you because they like your brand.
It's actually fun when they show up and say, "Oh, my grandmother read your comics."
Yep. That's what you want. Because you, Donna, are good trouble, just like everybody else.
Yep.
Because after all, in my case, the good die young, I'll be around forever. So I may as well annoy people while I'm here.
No, it's been an absolutely marvelous talk. It really has been.
It
brings back memories.
The stuff that the market is going through right now, well, okay. Now the thing that what the hell is going on here? Again, okay. Yeah, sure, why not? Okay, fine. What the hell are you doing, Adobe Acrobat for Chrome? Get out of my...
Well, you've been speaking for what, an hour and a half now?
Thereabouts.
Okay. Usually we ask people to go about an hour on a Saturday.
Then I shall consider myself done.
You went farther because we were all finding it very interesting. But it is Saturday, and people do have things they need to do. And we appreciate it. And it was very interesting, and it brought back memories for me, I'll tell you.
Definitely. Yeah.
And that's all good stuff we all need to know. And, of course, there's always the situation of if you have damaged books, they're good giveaways, too.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if you do some drawings in them and make the comic shop very happy.
Oh, yes.
But I think Doc has given an amazing talk.
Yep.
And these are good ideas. And I love the idea of the driveway comics at Halloween. That's a great idea.
Get your buddies, set them up. Hey, look, free pizza and beer. All you got to do is draw for this.
Well, the problem with Kawaii Kon here is it's peeing down rain and it's cold.
Cold and rainy. Come into the tent. Join us for comics.
That's what we did the first time. But this is very inspiring and very wonderful, and just brings back great memories. And I think we all have always benefited from these kind of talks and these kinds of ideas. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for letting me talk. I appreciate it.
Share.
Thank you.
Shared beautifully.
Okay. Well, you guys have a wonderful day now.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mahalo plenty.
Aloha.